Hey everyone, welcome to Pro Shop Talk. I'm Daniel, I'm the technical director here at RW Supply & Design. Today we're talking about alternative stains, specifically Basic Coatings HyperTone. This is their new oil-water hybrid, and it is a low VOC alternative to oil solvent stains. I've used this product a bunch, but honestly, I've never used it on an actual unfinished floor. This is a great product I found to do touch-ups whenever I'm going in on an old floor, whether it be pre-finished or unfinished. It does work really well for me in a system that I've developed to restore color on floors, but again, I'm excited to try this today on an actual unfinished floor. This is the only product I have not gotten personal instructions from, so I'm relying on Basic Coatings videos online, as well as their instructions on the bottle and their instructions online. My plan today is to coat the panel behind me. It's my 16-foot by 12-foot panel simulating a bedroom of the house, and I'm gonna coat that using a pad-on, rag-off method. So I'm gonna take a 10-inch pad, and I'm going to pad this onto the floor, and then I'm going to rag it back off. So let's get down on the floor and take a look at the tools that I'll be using. So the things I have today to put the stain down are the stain itself, stain glide, which is going to increase my open time with the stain, a pad to put the stain down with, rags to take it back off with, I've got my gloves, I've got a mixing bucket to mix the stain glide with the stain, and then a tray that I can dunk out of with the pad. I'm gonna go ahead and start mixing my stain glide with the stain. You can mix up to 18 ounces of stain glide in with your stain, but since I'm only gonna be using half of that, I'll need to get my ratio correct and use 9 ounces with 2 quarts. I wanna see how well this re-emulsifies. So I'm gonna splatter something right there. So my plan again, I'm just gonna work with the line of the floor, and I'm just gonna pick sections, pad out, pad up to the seam of a board, and then rag off and work my way back. Let's go. I like the pad because it allows me to cut in while I'm also putting the stain down. Where it looks like it's trying to dry on me, I want to add some more product. Now I want to quickly get back on it with some rags. I do want to keep a wet edge, I feel like, on that so I don't get a lap line. Again, I'm just using one rag to get up the majority of the stain. That is my more loaded rag. And then one rag to even out and make sure I get it all up as much as I can. Now, before my wet edge dries, I'm gonna try to do this closet and as well re-wet my edge. Of all the stains I've tried, this actually has the least amount of smell. So yeah, I would say done, went down well, went down easier than I thought. I think it looks great. I think of all the stains that I've tested, this had the least amount of smell. I can smell almost nothing, and I think the color looks great. I think the product looks great. And overall, I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll just have to come back tomorrow and see how our repairs do. Today I'm back on my HyperTone panel, just taking a look at the result. Overall, I'm super happy with the color. I think it is a good looking stain. It was way easier to apply than I thought a water base would be, especially with the dry winter time here in Denver. So I did leave some errors in the panel, and I also left some lap lines when I decided to stain in sections that didn't flow with the wood. So I want to see if I can correct those and get those out. Again, with this stain, I have not had any previous instruction on how to put it down, so I'm relying off of Basic's instructions on their bottle, on their website, and also the videos that they've got online, which do show really good instructions on how to apply it. In terms of repairability, I'm guessing that this is not a product that reactivates itself because it does seem to layer on itself and it does seem to lap line. I am going to confirm that though. I'm going to put a little bit of additional stain down and see. I expect that to just get darker and to not really be a valid way to repair the floor. In addition to that, I've got some maroon pads. Hopefully this will help me lightly pad out some of the additional color where I left a lap line. I've got some 220 paper if that doesn't work. And then I also have a wet water dampened cloth that hopefully will be able to get up some of the additional color as well. So between these, I'm gonna see if I can repair some of the spots that I left in the floor. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I just wanna see what this looks like when I put additional stain on top of stain. Like I said, I think it's gonna layer the color, and I don't think that's really a valid way for repair. I don't think it's gonna reactivate itself at all. But we'll do this in an area, and I just wanna see what this looks like. If I'm going to ruin a floor, I'd rather it be on a test panel. Yeah, so that did pretty much what I thought it would. Now I've got kind of a dark spot where I double applied the stain. So in terms of getting up stain, it doesn't look like reactivating it with HyperTone is gonna be my best bet. So I'm gonna move on to strategies that just involve trying to take off the additional stain I left down in some spots. To do that, I'm gonna try the least invasive way first, up to the most. So I want to try just a water dampened cloth, see if that works. If not, move on to a maroon pad, which is slightly abrasive. If that doesn't work, move on to my 220 paper. So I don't want to jump right to the most invasive, harshest. I want to try to work my way up and see what works with the minimal effort. So I left a heavy streak right here on the wall, and I'm going to see what takes that out. First thing I'm going to start with is just a water dampened cloth. See if water reactivates that at all. And it looks like it does. So looks like water has taken that additional streak out. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then looks like the heavy spots are now just a little bit lighter, and I might have to touch that with just a little bit of additional stain to get that to look right. That's good to know. Now I'm going to move on to a couple other heavier spots on the floor. So here I've got a lap line that kind of extends out through the floor, and this was again because I decided to do sections that weren't running with the floor, and I didn't cut along the seam of a board. So good learning for me to know that that's the case, but now we get to practice getting some lap lines out. So I'm going to see on part of this, I'm curious, what it's like using a water dampened cloth. And then the other part, I want to see what it's like to use a maroon pad. So I'm just going to try to pad that out and see if I can take off that additional stain. And again, in an effort to not leave a harsh line, I'm going to try to feather back out towards me. I will see what that's like when that dries here in just a second. All right, it looks like using a water dampened cloth is actually working better than I thought it would. So I just want to try a couple other things. I'm going to move on. I'm going to try to lightly scrub with a maroon pad, just a dry maroon pad, and I want to see how that works to get another heavy line out of the stain. So I've got a mark right here through the floor. That was kind of an overlap, and I'm just gonna very lightly touch that across the floor and see if I can feather that out with a maroon pad. That's actually working pretty good too. Yep. So then lightly wipe that up. So yeah, I like the way that the maroon pad just worked on that. That looks really good. Looks like the best strategy, I think, is to use just a very light touch with the maroon pad and just continue to get some of these heavy marks out. So I'm just going to continue across the panel and scrub a couple of these heavy marks out that just came from my carelessness. For the heavy drips that I left in the floor, it looks like light touch with a dampened cloth is the best strategy there, followed by maybe a little bit of evening out with the maroon pad. So here's a heavy drip right here. So there's a little drop, and if I just very lightly touch that with the rag, I'm not putting any pressure on there at all. It just goes away, and then I might need to follow up with the maroon pad. But it even looks like that. Doesn't even need anything additional. I'm just gonna touch a little bit of additional stain into these dry spots. See if I can blend them in. Overall, I'm surprised with how easy this is to repair. I would have thought, based on my experience with other water-based stains and dyes, that the lap marks and the extra drips and things would be really hard to get out. But turns out, maroon pad, water dampened cloth is really all I need, and those spots repaired easily. Looks great, and now I can move on. I'm gonna drag a quick coat of sealer across this just to see how the color pops, to see how my repairs look, and we'll go from there. So overall, I'm really happy and pleasantly surprised with this product. When I was putting it down, I was really concerned, obviously, with this being water-based to some degree, that I'm gonna get drying, lap lines, things like that. And largely, I did not see that, and that wasn't my experience with it. So I did get lap lines that I kind of chalk up to my technique as I was trying to back my way out, and I stopped applying the stain in the direction of the run of the floor. Overall, I really like this product, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. Like I said before, I've used this a lot in repair scenarios. I've never put it down on raw wood in a room like this, so this was a bit of a learning experience. I thought with it being water-based to some degree, it was gonna dry on me really fast and lap line, but that was not the case. Up until I did switch the way I was applying it, and because I switched the way I was applying it, I did get minor lap lines in the floor, but I chalked that up to my technique more so than the stain. Even at that, repairability was also surprising. I thought I might have to sand down to raw wood a little bit and have to reapply the stain. That was not the case. I was able to take a maroon pad and just kind of feather out my edges on those lap lines and the heavy marks and stuff that I left. I was able to use a water dampened cloth to even that out. And now that I've coated the panel, I mean, it looks pretty much flawless. Like, that room looks great, and I do not see any of my lap lines. This is, in my opinion, a great product. It was easier to apply than I thought it was gonna be, and the fact that it's Denver in the wintertime, super dry, I don't think you're gonna get a harder application than where I'm at right now. The only thing I think that might add difficulty is just increasing the size of the room. But again, like Basic says in their video, I would recommend 2 guys putting this down as opposed to just 1 guy. And I think that would make it a lot easier. So would I use this stain? Yeah, absolutely. I would use this stain based on gaining a little bit of confidence on the panel, seeing that it is repairable, that it can be applied by 1 person. You know, I would certainly consider this. I have used this stain a lot in the past, like I said, to repair other floors, but now that I've worked with it on a panel, I do think it is a workable stain. I would certainly recommend the Stain Glide. I don't know to what degree that helped me, but I'm sure it did help quite a bit with the open time on the stain. So that is one recommendation I'd throw out there. Low smell, little to no smell on the floor. It was not noxious at all. It was pleasant to apply from that point of view. The color is good and rich. I would recommend this to anybody who wants a low VOC stain, anybody who's into Basic products and wants that system beginning to end. So low VOC, Basic, and then also quicker dry time. Again, they say 2 to 4 hours dry time on the stain. So we do have a quick dry time on this. And I think all of those are great benefits to a contractor who's looking for a different type of stain. I'm looking forward to my interview with Basic to learn more about the product, also the application, anything that I would have missed, and also the benefits to a contractor for why somebody should use this stain. This video has been a part of our larger series on alternative stains. I invite you to go check out those videos, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions.